Hey everyone, I'm going to be kind of quiet because my roommate is home and asleep. It is 4 a.m., uh, technically Saturday now. I work nights, okay? So this is a totally normal time for me. I'm in my room drinking some hams, like just having a weekend, you know? Uh, so, uh, I'm going to present to you both some facts and some hypotheticals. So you'll want to stick around to the end because if you don't, you are missing like all of the content. So if you would like to pretend that you have any intellectual integrity, then you know actually hear out what's being said. But regardless, since we're all about sharing our free speech in the public space and everybody being forced to listen to it whether they want or not. Um, anyways, the terrorist designation of Antifa and the desired terrorist designation. I don't know if it's actually gone through yet. The desired terrorist designation of just transgender ideology, whatever that term even fucking means, because it's not an ideology, but whatever. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about a lot of things. Okay, so first of all, the one that is really burning a hole in my pocket, the one that is really chapping my ass, the trans mass shooter myth. And it is a myth. Um, at least if you care about statistics and reality. Um, so about that, let's get into it. So, according to the right, there have been quote unquote 12 mass shooters that were trans. Um, According to a dumbass meme that I saw like a couple weeks ago. The funny part is I know because the meme had like 12 pictures of different supposedly trans people who had supposedly done mass shootings, and the guy was just sharing it uncritically, and I know that because I know one of the people that was pictured, and she's not a mass shooter. She has shot people, but in combat as a special forces operator. Her name is Alana McLaughlin. She's an MMA fighter now, or at least was. I don't think she's found any fights recently, um, because of the controversy. But yeah, she's never done a mass shooting. She's free and walking the streets as we speak because, as I said, she has shot people in combat, not as a civilian. So that's one off the list. The remaining 11, I can't tell you who all of them were, but I can tell you that one of them was the Uvalde kid. What was it? Salvador Ramos, I think, who is not trans as far as I know. The information that I am currently working with is that the rumor that Salvador Ramos was trans was intentionally started on 4chan or something along those lines. Look into it. Prove me wrong if you can. But so basically what I'm getting at is there are a maximum, but probably fewer. Because this clearly veracity was not a concern for whoever made this dumbass meme. There are maximum 11, most likely less than 10, frankly, mass shooters that were trans or associated with, you know, transgender ideology or whatever that have ever been known to the world. Like, nobody's been able to provide any more examples than these very questionable 12 pictured in the meme, one of which we factually know was not a mass shooter. So I crunched some numbers here. Supposedly, there are about 2.8 million transgender people aged 13 and up in the US. So if we say that there were 10, Alana McLaughlin doesn't count because she didn't fucking do anything. And I seriously believe that Salvador Ramos was not trans. That brings us down to 10 total of all time. There are 30 to 50 mass shootings per year. I think I said this in my previous video for those of you who missed it. Um, so in the past decade alone, there have been like 300 to 500. Um, not every year follows the averages strictly. It may be slightly more, slightly less than that, but regardless, um, yeah, supposedly 10 shooters, a very questionable 10. So that means that out of the 2.8 million trans people, roughly 0.004% are mass shooters, which is still too high. Obviously, it should be zero, not 0.00 something, but just straight up zero. But it's not. Um, Here's where we get into hypotheticals, and I really like this one. I think you guys are going to love it too. So, there are 5.8 million vets, or at least in 2024, that was what the count came out to. Um, Roughly 1.1 million of them have PTSD because the rate is a little under 20%. It's a little different between men and women. We're not getting into that. I just averaged it out. It's about 19%. So 1.1 million. It would take 4 veterans with PTSD to do mass shootings to have a very slightly higher percentage. You see, when I said 0.004% of the trans population, that was rounding up from, 3, 5, other string of numbers. I rounded up for the veterans with PTSD as well, but before I rounded up, it was 3, 6 something. So 4 veterans with PTSD being mass shooters would be a very slightly higher percentage than how many trans people are mass shooters, even if we're taking the extremely questionable number of 10. So, the idea of banning transgender people from owning guns. Why did I bring up veterans? Well, you see, they want to prevent trans people from owning guns by taking advantage of the existing provision in which, if you've ever been mentally declared, adjudicated, mentally defective, or involuntarily committed, then you can't have a gun in the US. They want to expand that, take advantage of some vague wording, create more vague wording, whatever, to make it so that transness is a mental defect that prevents you from owning guns. And of course, the pretense for why they're doing this is how many of us are mass shooters. But would you guys want to ban combat veterans with PTSD from owning guns if 4 of them of all time were mass shooters? Like, even if we narrow it down to the last decade, 4 veterans with PTSD going on a mass shooting, would you say then that that is proof that we need to ban veterans with PTSD from owning guns? Statistically speaking, that would be a slightly worse problem mathematically than the number of trans people who have been mass shooters. Crunch the numbers yourself. So is it really about how dangerous we are? Or is it just because you don't fucking like us? So that's number 1. That was the first point I wanted to make. Fuck this. I'm gonna lay down. I'm fucking tired. I'm gonna look even more ugly, but that's your problem to deal with, not mine. So, moving on from that. The designation of Antifa as a terrorist organization, which is already stupid because it is not an organization. There is no membership. Nobody has membership cards. There is no leader. There aren't Antifa meetings. You can't donate to Antifa. You can donate to groups bearing the name, but they're all like local chapters that are just like 5 to 20 punk kids. So, yeah, an organization, sure, with terror cells everywhere. What terror exactly are they doing? we don't even have a chart, a shitty meme for Antifa mass shooters because it's not a thing that fucking happens. I mean, people complain about the riots, but I mean, the bulk of people rioting are just opportunists that don't believe in anything. So it's fucking stupid. Factually speaking, it's fucking stupid. And it's a huge red flag, by the way, that the concept, the idea of anti fascism, because again, it's not an organization. So they're banning an idea. They are making it illegal to be anti fascist. What kind of a regime would want to push that kind of a law? You know, in the business, we call that a red flag. Um, I mean, it goes hand in hand with the fact that they want to make hate speech legally actionable to the point that if you don't show proper mourning for Charlie Kirk, then you're going to face some kind of consequences, legally speaking. Which, I mean, like, people are talking about the Jimmy Kimmel thing. I don't fucking like Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's a fucking prick. Um, and I don't feel bad that he got fired. This dog shit show. Who cares if it's off the fucking air? But the problem is, of course, that it wasn't just that his network decided to pull him because they didn't like it. It was the FCC pressure. Pressure coming from the government against a comedian, quote unquote, talk show host. Can he be called a comedian if he's never been funny in his fucking life? Um, I don't like him. Yeah, does that not leave a sour taste in anybody else's mouth that the government pressured a network to fire a guy and then they're still talking about going after the networks anyways? Like, so we're cramping down on freedom of the press and freedom of speech. So that's great fucking news as we're banning the concept of anti-fascism. It's just another day in the US. Just another day, isn't it? Um I think something that apparently seems to get fucking lost on people is that this shit has never worked anyways. Like it's a losing game. It's just in shitifying the country for everyone. We're sabotaging gun rights, we're sabotaging freedom of speech and freedom of press, blah blah blah. And for what? To accomplish what? We've already gone over the numbers. The danger is not significant. And in the words of Charlie Kirk, I mean, I think it's worth to have a few gun deaths here and there in order to keep our Second Amendment right, in order to protect our other rights. That's not a verbatim quote, but that's what he was saying. I mean, the right especially have been talking for decades, perhaps centuries, about how the entire point of the Second Amendment is that if need be, you can leverage it against a tyrannical government to protect your other rights. And we are living under a government that has declared anti fascism a terrorist concept and is attacking our freedom of speech and freedom of press. So I'm just wondering where you guys are. I'm not saying to do anything or that anything needs to be done. I just find it funny that you guys don't believe in that anymore, which makes me question if you believed it in the first place, which we all know the answer to that. But, anyways, just for those of you who have said shit like that before, take a moment to pat yourself on the back for being a paper tiger, you fucking coward. Regardless. Everybody loves it when it's their side that gets to do it. Everybody loves it when their team gets to stick the knife in, because that's all this shit is us versus them. My team is winning. You don't care about crunching the numbers. You don't care about statistics. You don't care about reason or logic, or as I'm saying, the fact that this shit never works. You just don't care. It's not about factuality. It's not about practicality. It's not about making anyone's lives better. It's about winning in your idea. I was listening to, I guess, a podcast, a call-in show, whatever, from The Thinking Atheist earlier. And one of the callers was like, oh, well, Charlie Kirk was inviting people to debate. And, like, why don't you ever have on? And he named a bunch of, like, right-wing atheist figures or whatever. It's just like, bro, it's not a real debate. It's sport argument. It's the fencing of speaking is all it is. Like, how many people's minds have actually been changed by any of that shit, do you think? You know, this guy with all of the fucking PR and media training in the world goes and hands the mic to a bunch of unprepared 18 to 20 somethings and asks them to talk this shit that he's been talking professionally for all this fucking time. And lo and behold, it's hard for them to fucking stand up to him. But it's like, when has he ever had on like a ContraPoints or an H Bomber guy? Like, why isn't he letting the other side speak on his platform? Because nobody wants to fucking do that. Because it's not what his fan base want to hear. They want. It's entertainment for people that like the sound of an irritated voice. And they liked Charlie Kirk's smugness and the fact that it just so happened in all of the clips that he posted that he won every time, quote unquote won, for whatever value shouting over people until they put the microphone down has, whatever kind of a victory that is. That's why I don't watch like Hassan or Vaush or whoever the fuck else. I don't like any of those people any more than I like fucking Jimmy Kimmel, because they do the same shit. It's sport argument. I don't fucking care to hear people shouting over each other and not even presenting anything of any substance. Like, they're just trying to get the last word. They're trying to play semantics to trap each other. Blah, blah, blah. Like, it's a word game. And it's fucking annoying. So, yeah, I don't see the value of that in the first place. And I think anyone pretending that this is some kind of, this is how ideas are exchanged in our society. It is the least productive and effective way to share any of your fucking ideas in society. Let's just put that out there right now. And not to, before anyone puts words in my mouth, no, I don't think anyone should be fucking shot over it. I just think anyone that enjoys watching that shit is a fucking moron, is all I'm saying. Especially if they think that it's like the battlegrounds of intellectualism. No, it's not. It's the battlegrounds of public speaking. Regardless. Let's see, what else did I have today? Oh, right. That actually kind of leads me into the next hypothetical that I wanted to present. So, in this hypothetical, Karl Marx is alive and well somehow. He's still the same old Karl Marx you know and love, but he's just alive. Anyways, he gets invited to speak at, shit, I don't know, name a fucking school. I don't give a fuck. I live in Indiana. He gets invited to speak at IU. Do you let him? Do you just, because he's just speaking there. He's just sharing his opinions. It's just words, right? So you would let Karl Marx come to the university and talk to people, right? Wouldn't you? It's just ideas. Why would you stop him from doing that? You surely wouldn't want to hurt him, would you, for what he says? You can say, oh, communism has killed X number of people, 500 gorillion. That wasn't Karl Marx, though. He didn't do that. I mean, we can't hold people like Charlie Kirk accountable for how many people fascism has killed. So why would we hold Karl Marx accountable for communism? Most of that shit happened after he was already dead. So you would let him come speak at IU, right? I mean, it's like with the combat veteran thing. It's not about accurately assessing any kind of danger. It's not about protecting anyone, because nobody needs fucking protected from any of this shit. You just don't fucking like us. And your guy's in office right now, so you get to do whatever you want. And so here we are, stripping away free speech, freedom of the press. We are celebrating as the FCC threatens networks over what is said on them because it's too critical of the president. That's the country you're living in right now. That's your new America. I'm sure you guys are just going to be so fucking thrilled that all of these legal precedents have been set. If a Democrat ever gets into office again and gets to leverage these same new legislations against you instead. Yeah. When in history has this ever been productive? Name me one example of a genocide that was A, successfully completed, and B, the society afterwards was just better off for it. Name one. I mean, the Nazis didn't succeed. The entire rest of the world came over and shot them for it. I don't know, maybe like the Armenian genocide was, I don't want to say successful as in I agree with it, but I mean, they sure got a lot of fucking Armenians. Armenia still exists though, and there are still Armenians. So, was it successful? And also, are any of the places in that region better off for that having happened? I mean, all you need to do is fucking. I mean, okay, here's something not so flattering about me. I frequent gore sites, and I have for over a decade now, because I was still in high school when I started. Um, and I see videos out of, apologies for my pronunciation, Nagorno Karabakh all the time. Um, Maybe not all the time, but I've seen a fair fucking few. They pop up here and there. So it seems to me that that whole program didn't really have a good outcome either. And that's probably the most successful genocide I can think of. I mean, there's what's happening to Palestine right now, which Charlie Kirk found funny, by the way. He made that joke about how they have no more tall buildings to throw gay people off of, even though he's also the one that said it was God's perfect law when referring to the passage in Leviticus about stoning gay people. Um, Even that, like, Netanyahu is wanted for crimes against humanity by the UN. Like, it never pays off. It never pays off. It never works and it never pays off. And they're trying to do it anyways because they, again, do not care about the facts of the matter. They do not care about making the world a better place. Those are not priorities to them. Getting back at their alleged enemies is the only thing they care about, and they will sacrifice anything and everything and everyone if they have to try and achieve that goal. So, things like our freedoms are secondary concerns. They are auxiliary matters for these people. That much is clear. Um, do with that information what you will. I have no suggestions. I am just stuck living through it. And I'm not real happy about that. Of course, there's all the, oh, if you don't like it, leave. You figure that out. You know what? Send me a fucking check and I'll think about it. All right? Dumbass. Your boy was supposed to bring down the prices of groceries and gas and shit. That ain't happened, let me tell you. I don't know if you've noticed, but you got grifted, pal. We all did. Except for I knew that this shit was coming and you were just too fucking stupid to see it. Just telling it like it is. It's just words, just my opinion. Yeah, this video is probably going to get me put in jail or something. And people are going to act, oh, it's so funny. That's where you deserve to be. Yeah, that's the kind of country you want. Where I can lay here in my bed and ramble on about how much this sucks. And that is legally punishable. And there's just no way that that could ever come back to bite you in the ass. It's just such a great fucking type of society to live in. So, yeah, enjoy that for yourself, dumbass. I'll see you around.